I call this school Verrocchio after the great sculptor Andrea Verrocchio, and in fact I made this little sculpture, a copy of his David, because I admired him so very much. The name Verrocchio means true eye, vero occhio, and in fact what I'm interested in is in teaching people to observe, to see what's there. He was not only a great sculptor, but he ran the best art school the world has ever seen. The original David is a sculpture that I admire immensely, and its detail is superb, it's wonderfully finished. But I want to talk about the big thing about Verrocchio, which is his sense of structure. And I think I've made this so that we can talk about that sense of structure. It's a sort of architectural sense that we see this vertical leg as a kind of pillar, and then this hanging leg which hangs from his hips in the contrapposto, a little bit like a flying buttress. The way that arm comes against that plane of the leg is also very, very crisp, clear. It's like a Gothic cathedral in the way it's put together, these planes of stress, the way in which the sword arm hangs, very clear, very crisp. It's just hanging there at its natural point of balance, as if it was pivoted from here. I sometimes describe it, Verrocchio, as having a kind of card house sense of structure, the planes stacked against one another. And I think this David is a very good example of that. But in fact, I mean, every work that he touches has this same crystalline quality about it. This sense of structure is wonderfully illustrated by Verrocchio's Colleoni in Venice. When I first went to Padua and Venice to look at the great horsemen, the equestrian statues of Donatello and Verrocchio, I was expecting to admire the Donatello the most. But in fact, the one that really knocked me to my knees was Verrocchio's Colleoni. If you look at the way this sort of inverted Y of the rider himself, how it's held in place by the left arm, which is again like a flying buttress. He holds his mace exactly as David holds his sword. It's very clear, very, very strong, and absolutely appropriate to the sculpture itself. It's the same sort of thing that I was talking about with Christ raising a sick woman with Rembrandt. He has this wonderful sense of abstract structure. It's an architectural sense of structure. And that's what you find in the very great artists. The school of Verrocchio didn't really produce anyone beyond Leonardo with that force of structure. Leonardo, Perugino, wonderful painter as well at his very best. Lorenzo di Credi, Domenico Ghirlandaio, and many lesser names. I'm not the first person to have admired Verrocchio so extremely. Adolf Beyersdorfer in 1876 wrote, "Next to his pupil Leonardo, his is the greatest artistic character that has ever existed. The lofty and strict principles of his studio brought back worth and value to Florentine art at a time when these qualities were on the point of extinction."